No, in 6 minutes starts now.
Fran, great to be with you.
He's not a household name, but he's a big deal at the House. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and Bruce Orr can expect a lot of questions from Republicans on Capitol Hill next hour. Fox's Rachel Sutherland, live in Washington.
Dave, lawmakers on the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees want to know more about Justice Department official Bruce Orr's ties with British ex-spy Christopher Steele, the author of the salacious dossier that contained unverified claims about President Trump. The dossier was used as a basis for obtaining a FISA warrant on former Trump campaign advisor Carter Page. Orr is married to Nellie Orr, who works for Fusion GPS, the firm that hired Steele to work on the dossier. Today's hearing will be behind closed doors. Dave.
Well, Rachel, the Clinton campaign paid for that research, but Democrats say the probe into Orr is overblown, a conspiracy theory. The lawyer for ex-Trump lawyer Michael Cohen says he made a mistake. Lanny Davis admits he was the anonymous source in a CNN story reporting President Trump knew in advance about the 2016 Trump Tower meeting with Russians. The president denies that, and now Davis is backtracking and says he can't verify Cohen's claim that then-candidate Trump knew.
We very much appreciate everything that Senator McCain has done for our country.
President Trump's first public remarks about the late senator he didn't get along with. The president faced criticism for raising the flag back up at the White House. It's since been returned to half-staff, as it will be until McCain's burial Sunday. It's primary day in Arizona and in Florida.
I'm the candidate who can win the primary and win the general and keep Florida in conservative hands.
Adam Putnam's in a tough Republican race for governor with Trump-backed Congressman Ron DeSantis. The gamer who shot up a video game tournament had a history of mental illness. David Katz, twice hospitalized as a boy, prescribed antipsychotic drugs. He killed himself after opening fire Sunday in Jacksonville, Florida, killing 2 other gamers. Elijah Clayton was one of them. His cousin Brandy says,
Elijah's family wants you to know that he was a good man. He did not believe in violence. He never even had a fist fight.
This is Fox News. Fair and balanced.
It's the final days of the Ford Summer Sales Event. The last chance to find an incredible deal on the cars, trucks, and SUVs that make summer go right. Simply stop by a local Ford dealer or shop online at buyfordnow.com. Because the time to get behind the wheel of a new Ford during the Ford Summer Sales Event ends soon. And so do these amazing offers. This is gonna be the best day of my life. The Ford Summer Sales Event is in its final days. That means it's the last chance to make summer go right with Ford, America's best-selling brand. Stop by your local Ford dealer and find great offers on many Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs. With leading driver assist technologies, it's easy to see why Ford is the brand more drivers buy and buy again. Look for yourself. But hurry, the Ford Summer Sales Event ends September 4th, 2018. To find out more, head to buyfordnow.com or stop by your local Ford dealer. Best-selling claim based on 2017 calendar year sales.
With an official veto of the bag tax bill, Governor Murphy has formally cleared the way for one of the toughest plastic bans in the nation. A bill introduced by Senator Bob Smith would ban stores and restaurants from using styrofoam or polystyrene packaging, as well as plastic bags or single-use straws. Violators would be fined $5,000 a day. 6 years after Superstorm Sandy, the population of Ocean County keeps rising. In Monmouth, it's dropped. Rutgers economist Jim Hughes says land in Ocean is cheaper, and there are more retirement communities, but also
Route 195 has provided accessibility to Trenton and the Princeton area.
Recent census figures show Monmouth County is losing about 640 residents a year. Add Ruby Tuesday to the list of stores and restaurants closing locations in New Jersey. The one on Route 9 in Howell abruptly closed Monday. A sign on the door simply said this location is closed. The new CEO of Ruby Tuesdays has closed more than 100 locations nationwide since last year. I'm Eric Scott. This is the Town Square News Network.
Hazy skies and the heat index. It is the story of the next 36 hours or so in New Jersey as we continue to deal with a late August burst of intense heat. Sunny but hazy on this Tuesday, highs in the mid-90s, but feels like temps up to 102 as a heat advisory kicks in at noon today and has been issued through 8 p.m. tomorrow. Overnight tonight, a break in the haze, clearing eventually, but lows won't get much lower than the mid-70s, even 80 in some places. Hazy, hot mid-90s again on Wednesday. Thursday, a bit of a change with late day showers coming in, partly sunny and in the upper 80s. I'm Patrick Lavery.
From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame.
I want to congratulate my friend, Harry Hurley.
You're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPGG Talk Radio 104.1.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chuck Malamut is here. That's a very good thing. Chuck Malamut, the official, the exclusive financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program, and this weekly program, which is in its 27th year here on the Hurley in the Morning program, sponsored by Chuck Malamut, a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. The information, views, and opinions expressed are those of Chuck, do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates, current as of the date of this broadcast, subject to change without notice. Neither the information provided nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Morgan Stanley, Smith Barney, member SIPC. And Chuck, first of all, I'm going to need this in a little bit, but I do not need today's program outline. I'm going to turn it face down for my opening comment. All I want to say for your comment is thank you, President Trump.
Good morning, Harry. Yes, I just find it pretty remarkable that we are in the quote, the dog days of summer. The last week, the run up to Labor Day weekend, and typically not a lot goes on. I mean, there's volume kind of dries up.
You mean NASDAQ 8,017.90 doesn't usually happen in the dog days of summer? Is that what you're trying to say?
There are a number of people on vacation, that work on Wall Street, and I mean, yesterday was just, I guess the best way, kind of maybe like a shocker. I mean, it was the most amazing thing. So, Harry, as you know, in my office, we had the TV that's sort of to my back, and it was Dow's up 30, Dow's up 60, and
to the right of the TV is a beautiful framed item, a gift from someone who loves you very much.
Very much, thank you, Harry.
Yeah.
I don't need it, but anyway, I mean, I was in the middle of chatting with a client, and I have the screen in front of me,
and you saw the news
and
the deal with Mexico,
and I'm watching. I'm watching the monitor that we work off of all day long, and then I turn sort of to my right and behind me, and I'm saying, this is like total disbelief. That within a matter of seconds, as you know, the market reacts very, very quickly,
yes.
and
it liked what it saw.
The Dow, the NASDAQ, the S&P 500.
2 out of 3 are presently at all-time highs.
Yeah, and I heard you and Kirk this morning, and unfortunately, the third wheel is missing this morning. I guess he went back to his real job.
We did community service work.
I know that.
Okay.
He did a fine job.
Thank you.
I kind of expected Kirk to kind of stick around and chat with us, but I guess he had.
Yeah, you know what? Because he had to leave. That's an interesting point.
That's okay.
Yeah,
that's
right.
interesting.
I think he should have stayed to observe the clinic that you put on.
But we'll send send a shout out. But so yeah, the Dow's a little bit shy of an all-time high. The NASDAQ and the S&P pushed through yesterday. But I think what's really interesting, Harry, remember if we kind of chatted last week about the global economy and how we're not really in sync, especially European, Far East countries. But when you look at last week on to itself, like the Euro Stoxx 50. Basically had a very, very solid week and was up actually 3.5% going into yesterday. So it cut the losses for the year in half. The Shanghai, the Chinese market, was up 3% as well. So, if we look at last week on to itself, the international markets fared better than what was happening here domestically. I mean, the S&P was up, and again, this is through Friday, was up 0.9%. The Dow was up 0.5%, and the NASDAQ, which is up 1.7%, up 15.9% for the year. So we saw last week that synchronization. Now you think about what was happening last week on to itself. You had multiple negative headlines. For President Trump, the question. The stability of his administration.
His approval rating went to an all-time high.
But
even before this good news.
Exactly.
I think we have to accept either we have a Teflon Don, or the American people don't care about what the media cares about and are very satisfied with 4.1% GDP. As you know, Chuck, before the trade deal with Mexico was announced, which I believe absolutely guarantees Canada is begging to come to the table. The president has already spoken with Prime Minister Trudeau. So Canada is going to be on board. That's more good news on top of good news. Even before the good news, the Atlanta Fed upgraded the GDP from 4.3 to 4.6.
So I think
how do you do?
Yeah, so I think in spite of the trade tensions between the U.S. and China, as well as the statements that Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell stated that interest rate hikes were likely to continue.
Sure.
So
Keep 'em coming.
in spite of all that noise, investors kind of move money back into stocks, causing the bull market that we chatted about last week. It's now on record as becoming the longest in history. And the S&P, did in fact reach new record highs by the end of last week, piercing through that yesterday.
I mean, is it fair to say the bull market basically equals 1/4 of your entire career in the financial services industry?
Well, I think if you put it in that terminology, that's
36.
That's exactly correct. And
that's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Well, I think what I think is amazing here, Harry, is the fact that this bull market that we have now participated in, fortunately, a lot of people, retail investors, participated, but unfortunately, too many did not, because they basically got scared off in everything that happened in 08 and going into 09. You think about what happened here. I mean, it's been 113 months since the S&P, index, had hit that low. So,
well, I was looking at that with Kirk. March 9th, 2009.
666.
666. And basically now within striking distance of 3,000.
Yeah.
I mean, that's remarkable.
And it's interesting because our chief strategist.
It's like 5 times.
Our chief strategist, I have a lot of respect for, Mike Wilson, about a month ago made a shift. And he said, look, I really think that value has been ignored for such a long time. Growth has beaten value for about 10 years in a row. And we're starting to see some shift of funds into those value stocks, which really, they've done relatively well, but they haven't performed like growth. So think about it. The S&P's appreciated.
Well, people are chasing yield, right?
Yeah, now they have to because but there is a competition because interest rates are now higher than where they were, say, just a year ago. The S&P's up over 400%, Harry, from that March 9th, 2009 low, which is an annual rate of return about 18.9%. But believe it or not, that does trail the record that was set by the bull market of the 1990s with respect to annual rates of return, where those returns were in excess of 21% during that particular run.
Chuck, Chairman Powell has made it clear he wants to get to a normal 3% range. If you get to a 3% range, correct me if I'm wrong, because I wasn't very good in this industry and you are very terrific at it, but correct me if I'm wrong, when we get, and we will, because there'll be these 25 basis point hikes, we'll get to 3%. Fixed instruments will become more and more attractive because the yield will be worth parking money for a fixed period of time when it finally gets to the point again. If you're basically with no return, 1% or a fractional return, that doesn't inspire people to lock money up for years and years. But we're going to see, do you think we will see a shift in terms of what people will do?
I think we've seen a shift already. I mean, when you look at, investors that have money in savings accounts at the local banks, they really need to if they haven't done so, they need to make a shift and move that into what we describe as, money market mutual funds. And there's all kinds of money market mutual funds. So you need to don't just chase yield, because several years ago there was that whole the whole concept of breaking the buck.
Right.
And what happened is the government came in and said, look, there's certain money funds that cannot and will not break the buck. So if you have a government-backed money market mutual fund, that's a lot to say in a sentence. Mm-hmm. Right now, those yields are pushing 1.8% for daily liquidity. So what's happening? The yield curve continues to flatten out. We've seen rates increase on the shorter end of the curve, not so much on the long end. I remember, it happened on at least 2 occasions now in this past year where the market started to get very, very anxious when the 10-year Treasury bond pierced through 3%.
Right.
And it happened, basically there were 2 times during the year. And the market, sometimes gets very, very hysterical
because
with that.
There are people happy with knowing that they.
But right now, that 10-year right now is about 2.85. Right. So it has found sort of the resting place. And what is happening is that Chairman Powell last week made his speech out at Jackson Hole, and he confirmed that rate increases are likely to going to continue, and the Fed doesn't see any global risks. And put the word in quote unquote global risks that would change this approach. So you think about the path he's on, and again, it was not a conversation, but I guess a tweet or a comment that President Trump said, I don't necessarily agree with what the Fed's doing. They should keep rates low, not high, but
and he's looking at that understandably in terms of his own reelection.
Exactly.
Not wanting higher rates. But it's understandable. Chuck, let's take our first break. We're going to come right back with the best in the business, Chuck Malamut, the Malamut Group at Morgan Stanley's Northfield, New Jersey office. Chuck is the managing director. He leads his team. The Malamut Group, you can reach them at 609-383-2010 for all of your financial planning needs. Much more straight ahead. And to think, and maybe this is a talking point that maybe Chuck could opine about when we come back, and then we'll get back on track with his market update. And we have a long list of items that Chuck is ambitiously going to try to attempt to cover. Some of them we jumped ahead, and we did talk about some of them ahead. But I was thinking about, it wasn't that long ago, 2 years ago, maybe less, where we were talking about, and it was really unpopular stuff, where you would earn no yield. You would get charged for parking your money. I think it's fair to say that things have changed quite a bit, and we'll see what Chuck has to say about that in just a few minutes.
The Auto Plaza at English Creek. Roll with Mr. Tire.
This is Harry Hurley, and I'm with the Mayor, Charles Kane, owner and operator of the Auto Plaza at Harbor Township. Mayor, tell your listeners who are looking for a car, why should they choose the Auto Plaza?
Harry, it's our full-service department selection and hassle-free financing alternatives that have set us apart for over 17 years. Over the years, we've been the recipient of many sales and service awards, as well as receiving an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau. It's been a real honor for us. We are now serving a second generation of sales and service customers. Stop in today. You're going to love our staff and experience what makes us different.
For all of your automobile service, parts, and sales needs, call the Auto Plaza at 609-646-2447. That's 609-646-2447. And visit us on the World Wide Web at myautoplaza.com.
The Auto Plaza at English Creek. Roll with Mr. Tire.
At Shore Medical Center, they go to extraordinary lengths to deliver the highest quality of care in a safe and compassionate environment. They are pleased to provide 6 centers of excellence specializing in cancer, cardiovascular, neurological, orthopedic, emergency, maternity, and pediatric health care. To find a doctor, schedule an appointment, or find more information on the many excellent services Shore Medical Center provides, visit shoremedicalcenter.org.
Congratulations to Shore Medical Center for being the only hospital in Atlantic and Cape May counties to earn an A rating for quality and safety by Leapfrog Group for spring 2018. This is the 8th consecutive rating period in which Shore has earned this prestigious honor. Shore is proud of its physicians, nurses, and support staff who continue to provide the highest quality of care to the patients in our community. Find out more at shoremedicalcenter.org. Shore Medical Center, healthcare at its best.
Hi, it's Mark Levin. Join me at 6 this evening. Now back to the Mayor of the Morning, Harry Hurley, on WPG Talk Radio 104.1, South Jersey's talk station.
Hey, we're back. A very good friend of the program wrote something, Chuck, that honestly, if you or we got paid for this, for the amount of times we've said it, over the past 27 years, we'd both be retired, but we both love to work, so we wouldn't be retired. But Bob wrote in, inverted yield curve usually means a recession is likely. You have ownership of that phrase, Chuck.
Well, look, I'm not. This has been said on more than one occasion. The fact is, we're getting first the yield, has the traditional slope, then it becomes flat or flattened out, so to speak, and ultimately, if your short rates are higher than your longer rates, the yield curve does in fact invert. Now,
and we know what usually happens then.
But we're being told that quote, this time is different, or this time will be different. So we're not quite there yet. But
I'd love to know what they base that on. Why this time, unlike any other time, when something almost always happens, but this time is going to be different, I worry about that.
It's kind of like the new norm. So.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what I thought of that.
Exactly.
Chuck, before the break, I teased, it wasn't that long ago, probably right before President Trump became president, we were talking about, it was happening around the world, and we were talking about it might happen here, where literally your money, not only would you not earn any yield for parking your money, you'd be charged for parking your money.
More so in Germany than here in the U.S., but there was a lot of discussion around it, and fortunately that sort of fell by the wayside. But what has happened here is that, with rates as low as they were, at the time, the banks couldn't make any money. I mean, there was no spread, so they couldn't charge on the other side. If you wanted to borrow money. So now that is more normalized, and interestingly enough, if you look at performance with respect to the S&P 500, financials year to date are in the sort of the bottom 1/3. They're only up 2% year to date, while technology is up over 18%.
Wow.
Followed by consumer discretionary and healthcare. So those three sectors actually have beat the S&P, but the ones that are sort of lagging: energy, utilities, real estate, financials. There are three, Harry, that actually are underwater year to date: materials, telecom, and consumer staples. So that, again, that's goes back to the old adage, make certain that you're diversified. Yep. You don't have all your money in one sector, don't have all your money in one company at any particular time.
Corporate profit margins for the remainder of the year.
Yeah, so now, you think about it, we've talked about this, multiple times. The first Q1 and Q2 were nothing short of spectacular with respect to earnings. So now margins have risen to all-time highs, during the first 6 months of this year. So we're not looking for a sharp drop in earnings or profits, but what we are seeing, Harry, and we've talked about this, is that we're seeing some wage pressures, and not so much from employers giving raises to employees, but more of those employees moving from company A to company B, to be able to get a higher wage, so to speak. So we are starting to see some wage pressures. We've talked about rising interest rates. So those two combined, very well, Harry, could have a likely drag on profits as we look forward into Q3 and Q4.
Ironic, sort of law of whatever, intended consequences.
Well, but remember
because
what
people now have the ability to move now.
Yeah, but remember what you and Kirk talked about in the 7 o'clock hour was that the stock market is a leading indicator.
Correct.
And typically looks 6 months out. So certainly with the moves,
being at records would bode well.
So certainly with the moves that we've seen of late and record highs, in 2 of the 3 in the season, the Dow not too terribly far behind, is that we don't think there's going to be a recession, and we think that profit margins will in fact, continue. They might shrink somewhat, but from a long-term focusers, people at these levels get very, very anxious. And they want to reduce equities. They want to sell their positions. But I think that there's still, there's a lot of runway, so to speak.
I think 2018 really illustrates what you talk about on your program all the time: the essence, the essential nature of spending time in the market rather than trying to time the market. Because as compared to 2017, see if you agree with this statement coming from a layperson, but I cover this with you every week all year for 27 years. So I feel like I know this stuff from you. The point I'm trying to make is 2017 was like the do no wrong year. It was just gangbusters. There really were no hiccups. 2018 is more of a disjointed year.
Well, 2018, Harry, I think is more typical of a traditional year.
Right. But having
17,
said that, it's very different than 2017, but yet two of the three indices, major indices, are at all-time highs anyhow.
But think about how we got there.
Yeah.
Okay, there were multiple corrections this year.
Yeah.
As we remember back in January, I think January we initially made those highs.
Yep.
February and March sell off to the magnitude of 10%.
Yep.
I remember, Mike and I facing off with a quote unquote consultant for a foundation that we are currently managing, and the consultant, went to the board and said, "Look, we really think that you should lighten up and reduce your equities." And we stood hard and fast in our position. We kind of dug our heels in and said, "Look, this is a marathon. This is not a sprint." And lo and behold, I guess fortunately for all of us that we stayed on course.
Good counsel.
And I look at the market from that point in time was up about almost over 6% over that time period.
And this year proved spending time in the market was the correct strategy, because if people panicked at one or the second correction.
Well, it's like anything else. If you own equities, it's again, you really shouldn't be on your phone. You shouldn't be on your laptop. You shouldn't be on your desktop. You shouldn't be watching TV. You spend years at it. And when you have situations where you have a sell-off or in the market itself for a particular company or sector that you like, and that gets beaten up, that's when you come with fresh capital and you add to your positions. You average that money in, so to speak.
Chuck Malamut, all about your financial matters at 27 minutes past the hour. Time to do this right before the bottom of the hour break, and then many more topics to go in Chuck's final segment straight ahead. Talk about the aspect of productivity, of growth, in relation to the current economic expansion.
So if you look at the economic expansion that we've been through, I think one of the things that had been lacking, Harry, is the missing ingredient is that improving productivity. And now we are certainly seeing improving productivity. That should help profit margins and keep core inflation from rising too high.
Good.
All right. So just something to think about.
Let's get our break in. We'll come back in just a few minutes, 2.5 minutes to be exact. Chuck Malamut, all about your financial matters. To reach Chuck and the Malamut Group at Morgan Stanley's Northfield, New Jersey office for all of your financial planning needs, every aspect from college building to vacation planning to retirement, every financial aspect of your life, you can turn to Chuck, the Malamut Group, 609-383-2010.
WPG Talk Radio 104.1 is South Jersey's talk station, and we want to know what you think about what you hear on WPG. Which talk shows do you like the most? What do you think of our news coverage? What new talk show hosts would you like to hear? We're building a bigger and better talk station, and it's all being crafted by your input. If you're a member of the 1450 Club, take our survey now at WPGTalkRadio.com.
We're celebrating summer at Rossi Honda with loads of savings during the Honda Summer Spectacular event. Beat the heat with cool deals like these. Lease a 2018 Honda Accord LX 1.5 for just $159 a month, or lease a 2018 Honda HR-V LX for just $149 a month. Enjoy summer in a new CR-V LX for just $199 a month. Head to the Honda Summer Spectacular event today. It's where summer fun begins. Going on now at Rossi Honda. Check out more deals at RossiHonda.com.
See dealer for details.
Hi, this is Ron Rossi, and I have over 300 new Hondas for you to choose from right now for my summer sale event at Rossi Honda. Come in today for the best cars, SUVs, and trucks in America at the best prices and great fuel economy. You can't go wrong. And don't forget, the oil changes are on us up to 5 years or 60,000 miles on all new Hondas. At Rossi Honda, we treat you better, period, for less, on Delsey Drive in Vineland.
There are some things that are 100% unique to your business. Whether you brew the craftiest beer, offer the sharpest haircuts, or dole out the soundest financial advice in town. Well, at Vistaprint, no matter what you do, we've got the business cards to promote what makes your business great. That's why we're offering 500 custom cards starting at just $9.99. That's 500 business cards made just for you for only $9.99 with promo code 6000 at Vistaprint.com. You can choose everything about your card, the shape, the finish, and even the paper. Whether you pick our high-quality standard option or select a luxurious thicker stock. And you choose whether to design it yourself or ask for a little help from our support team via chat, email, or phone. We even have professional designers on call. So create a card that shows off what makes your business great and get the most bang for your... Just head to Vistaprint.com to get your 500 business cards starting at $9.99. Use promo code 6000 at checkout. That's Vistaprint.com. Promo code 6000.
Hi, this is James Darren, and you're listening to Hurley in the Morning.
Thank you very much, James Darren. I am Hurley in the Morning. He is Chuck Malamut. This is all about your financial matters. It's a Tuesday morning program in its 27th consecutive year in existence. Chuck Malamut is the official, the exclusive financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program for all of your financial planning needs. Talk to Chuck. He'll introduce his concept of total asset management coupled with the all-important asset allocation. You reach Chuck by dialing 609-383-2010, 609-383-2010. Did we talk all about trade, everything that we needed to talk about?
I think we talked obviously about Mexico and the deal yesterday.
And I think
Canada's not far behind, but
and I think China is not that far behind.
In the insanity of things that are happening, you get the media that is just so opposed as to what our president has accomplished and is trying to accomplish. And the fact of the matter is that China exports a whole lot more than they import from the U.S. And as a result, who's going to be on the losing side here? And I think the actions that have taken place over the last several weeks, culmination yesterday, I don't think anyone had any idea that we were this close to having a deal with Mexico.
Incidentally, somebody that gets no credit and only gets blame, Jared Kushner, did a lot of this. Did you know that, Chuck?
He did, but there was no mention.
And the reason is because it's positive, so they won't do it. But also, Jared Kushner is quietly, in any other administration, he would get the most glowing press you've ever seen. The guy's a gamer. He is really solid for not having governmental experience. He is really, from Israel to these trade issues, he has taken on some of the most complex issues that have confounded so many administrations. Incidentally, Chuck, I really believe that it was too much criticism. Oh my gosh, he's wrecking this great economy. I kept thinking, this is a businessman. He knows what he's doing. And look who thought that with the change in philosophy of governance coming in, Mexico, in case those listening do not know, it will be a much more liberal socialist philosophy. So this is in their vital interest to get a trade deal right now, Chuck.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, Mexico obviously...
And they know it. And Canada knows it. And China knows it.
And you think about, through all these discussions, the wall. We're going to build a wall. I mean, that kind of, not that it's not going to happen.
Well, it is going to happen. It's actually already started.
But I'm saying is that
he may have just found his funding source.
That is now sort of taking a back seat to everything else that's going on.
But with the trade deal, Mexico might be paying for that.
And you think about the markets itself. All of the. And I guess the best way to describe it is the word circus. Everything is coming out of Washington could contribute to additional market volatility, and we haven't really had a lot of volatility of late. I mean, you think about.
I am overjoyed, Chuck, that with all the media and the Washington D.C. insanity, that once again our financial markets show great maturity, great resilience, And I think you have to admit, when two of the three major indices are at all-time highs on a week where the president's chairman gets convicted of 8 of 18 counts and his former personal attorney pleads guilty and is going to take 3 to 5 years in the big house, and for this to all be going on, it's remarkable.
So the market has taken that and kind of shrugged it off. But Harry, I think you kind of put it in a corner, but you can't forget about it. But the market is certainly more focused on metrics that are really important to the market: consumer confidence, business confidence. That's certainly more important than the political turmoil that is coming out of Washington. However, you think about, again, we always talked about geopolitical risks. It's been quite some time since we have actually had any quote-unquote geopolitical risks, globally speaking, because what is happening here domestically, I think the smart money clearly identifies and understands is really not terribly important.
Let me push back on that, because I think there's a difference. We have had geopolitical issues that maybe in the past would have affected markets. It no longer does. For example, there was the dust-up with Iran. There was a dust-up with North Korea.
You're right. You know something. You're
Russia.
With
China.
I will agree with you.
For some reason, things that used to matter,
they're not terribly important,
right?
Which
I think is great.
Business confidence, consumer confidence. I mean, that's basically the driving forces right now. And you think about the number of people. If you want to get a job, Harry, you can get a job. It's not hard. It might not be the job, your ultimate dream job.
I agree.
But you can certainly get employed relatively quickly.
No doubt about it. There's more jobs than there are people that need a job.
Correct.
That's pretty amazing when you think about it. Here's another issue, and I think this issue is a two-edged sword, because with no inflation, then our retirees receive no COLAs because they just keep where they're at. And with some level of inflation, you will get increases. Of course, things they say will cost more, because to truck them and to do different things, if fuel prices go up and different costs go up. But what do you say relative to inflation?
So look, we have seen some inflation. I think if you look at the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, it actually is up 2.95%, Harry, on a year-over-year basis, ending the end of July, and that's the largest increase that we've seen in the last 7 years. So, and again, CPI is a measure of inflation, that the U.S. Bureau of Labor Studies puts together. So there is inflation, and and then when you take out energy and you take out food, certainly, it's more expensive to live now than it was a year ago.
What do you have to say about ownership of U.S. Treasury securities?
Well, this is one of the scary things. We kind of always talked about, other countries owning our debt.
Yep.
And what magnitude, and foreigners have increased their holdings in our debt from $1 trillion in 2000, $1 trillion to $6.2 trillion in 2018. So you think about
if they ever, it's not in their vital interest to do it, but
I
if
know
they
where
ever,
you're going with this.
You know where I'm going. But if they wanted to, they can cause mischief, can't they?
Look, there could be pushback. I mean, they could say, look, we're not going to participate in your auction, and we're not going to buy your debt. Now, what that does, it's a matter of supply and demand. So if you have less demand and more supply, then that's going to push your rate higher till you get to the point in time where you have sort of that equilibrium between supply and demand. So,
and of course, they're cutting their nose off despite their face if they do that, because we've never defaulted in the history of our country.
I know that we talked about this last week. I think there were.
It's like a surefire.
There were 10 countries that have, quote, AAA, one of which was, maybe it was Sweden, Germany.
But nobody has our record.
But we don't have, we, quote, lost our AAA rating, but I think I'd much rather buy our debt than one of those international countries.
When you lose it, can you get it back?
You can. It's like anything else, it's
because we lost it for a stupid reason.
Yeah, but you can, S&P, Moody's, Fitch, AMBAC, AGC. I mean, all these agencies that rate debt, and all the insurers. I mean, their companies and countries are always under the guise, look in where these different entities are looking at debt. And think about, if you buy, like you buy a bond, like a corporate bond, and you initially buy it as let's say it's a single A piece of paper, which is, obviously very, very, it's investment grade and of good quality. Company hits, tough times, and all of a sudden you've had several downgrades, and now your single A piece of paper is trading, like a triple B minus. That's going to have an impact on the price in a negative way. So what companies want to do is they need to get back from that triple B minus back to that A, because what happens is the higher the rated, the lower they have to pay as far as rates are concerned, which ultimately means more profitability for the company. So at the end of the day, your rating is very, very important with respect to the stability of the company.
Well, you look at what happened to Atlantic City. They got to the point where they can't even borrow. You look at the state. The state is such a joke that the county of Atlantic actually had to be the good creditor, if you will, the good person with good credit, the co-signer for Stockton University. That's pretty crazy when you think about it.
It's total insanity.
It's embarrassing.
When you look at the revenue that is generated within the state of New Jersey, and the fact, I'm not going to get on a political.
Well, no, what I said was not political.
No, but I'm not going to get on. Where I'm trying to go is I'm not going to make a big stand on this today, but it's just, let's just say you can't run your business the way the state runs their business.
Correct.
Okay?
No way, no how.
Because you would be out of business at the end of the day. So, and it's really sad for all of us that are law-abiding, tax-paying citizens. We just have to take it. You don't really what can you do? Not pay your taxes? I guess that is one thing, but ultimately,
that's not going to end well.
That would be a really bad day.
Come be a sheriff,
maybe 5-7 years or whatever. Yeah.
So,
but I guess the point I was trying to make is that the state, there's a lot of work to be done, and it's just this constant kicking the can down the road, and every 2 or 4 years someone's running for office and they're going to fix all our problems. But it's just exhausting, Harry, just listening to the political rhetoric and ultimately with no solution in sight.
That's very well said. Did we talk about the Treasury bond, the 10-year earlier?
Well, no, we talked about the rate, which is right now at 2.85. So over the last 10 years, Harry, the largest increase on the yield on the 10-year Treasury note during any quarter was plus 0.85%, so almost 1%. And that happened think about the fourth quarter 2016. In the last 10 years, the largest decrease on that 10-year Treasury, Harry, was down 1.6 or 160 basis points, fourth quarter 2008, which happened to coincide with the bear market. Remember,
not a coincidence,
when times get tough, money leaves equities and goes to safe haven, which in this case went to treasuries, which pushed down those yields.
One of my favorite topics on your program, because you're always, I think, very wise and on top of your game when you recognize the stool with the 3 rungs, and that the real estate component is a big deal. A major component of a great economy is a strong real estate market as well. I still consider this the American dream, owning your own home. What do you have to say about that?
Well, Harry, I think that most people don't recognize this, especially those that have mortgages. Believe it or not, 3 out of every 8 homeowners, or 38%, that owned a home here in the U.S. right now own their home free and clear.
Say that again. How many?
3 out of 8, 38% of homes that are currently owned do not have any debt associated to it. Now, there's 30 million debt-free homeowners in the country, with a total of 78 million total homeowners. So I was kind of shocked when I saw that. I mean, you think about the money that's kind of locked up, in homes, and now with the infrastructure.
Would that count people that have done a reverse mortgage that have no payments?
No.
So part of that would be people that have.
I mean, if you
used their money.
Yeah. So if that is considered quote debt, because on the back end, with the reverse,
it has to be paid.
Exactly.
When you sell the home.
So So think about 3 out of 8 don't have any associated debt. Drive down the street, start counting. So this one,
By the way,
that's
Chuck,
a pretty high number.
For people that don't know, is that a high percentage throughout American history?
I'm not sure, Harry, but I think my personal opinion, I think it is.
It sounds good to me, and I tell people all the time. I told this to them when I was a VP with NatWest Bank. If you make one extra payment per year and just apply it to principal, you'll take 5 years off your mortgage.
Yeah, you're right about that.
So many things you can do.
But the other thing that happened, Harry, I think that with the market decline in 2008, and just a lot of participants, leaving the market and not coming back and said, look,
sure,
we own our home, let's pay our mortgage, let's pay it down, let's pay it off. Let's get to the point where we own something that we think is, rather stable. And then all of a sudden the real estate market throughout most of the country went the wrong direction, and now fortunately is heading in the right direction.
How about Chinese and China and their economy?
So this is pretty interesting, Harry. Personal consumption by American consumers right now represent about 70% of our economy. Big number. Mm-hmm. Personal consumption by Chinese consumers right now represents 39% of their economy.
Wow.
So there is a long way to go with respect to that particular country, and I think that it's something we really shouldn't forget about.
Interesting point on your program this morning, Chuck. This always catches my eye, my ear. Obviously, we're losing Sears. We kept them longer than many markets. Malls versus online shopping. I just think that freestanding mall is in a world of hurt, and at every turn, online is just kicking its rear end, especially now where they'll mail you the stuff. You can try it on and send it back postage free, and then if you put the medium and it didn't quite fit right, you need the small. Notice I didn't go to the large. You can go send it back. I think the freestanding malls are in big trouble.
Well, they're obviously the demographics, they're all changing, and believe it or not, Harry, less than 10% of annual retail spending in our country right now is completed as an online purchase. So think about how much more we have to go compared to China, again, where 23% of retail spending in China is now done online. So you kind of have, you think about consumption levels are higher here than where they are in China, but with respect to the buying habits, more done online, double online in China versus here in the U.S. So I think there's a long way to go, and your point is absolutely well taken.
There may be a day when there are not freestanding malls because there will be no reason to have them.
I think there's always going to be malls. I think the way
maybe the retail section will be different. You'll have restaurants and different things as opposed to
workout facilities, training facilities. Yeah, I think, and you're seeing that shift right now. But yeah, I mean, Sears closing, it doesn't come as any surprise, I think, to anyone here.
No,
I mean that.
But we had avoided the cut even during our Great Recession.
Yeah. So, but I think that's more of a.
I think it's a statement of the online shopping.
Well, I think Sears. I mean, again, I'm not going to talk about an individual company, but I think it's the state of the company.
All right,
a lot as well.
Now, a favorite topic on the Malamut program also is the issue of college costs. They continue to soar. They're really,
This is, Harry, this is something
it's a malady.
I think maybe your listeners get a little bored because we always talk. It seems like we talk about this a lot,
but many of us have Parent Plus loans, and the kids have student loans.
The mentality that you can't finish in 4 years and why you need years 5 and 6. And 44 million Americans right now owe $1.4 trillion in student loan debt. That's a 140% increase, up $820 billion in just the last 10 years. So
this is the next bubble, isn't it?
Well, we've heard it on multiple occasions, and how it can impact your credit report.
How can I hear that, and that hurts, and it's hurting a lot of people, and it's actually the debt twofold. The debt is keeping young people from being able to buy their home because it's now included in the debt to equity ratio. falling behind on your payments and being in default is obviously something that's going to wreck people from being able to buy. I see this school debt as hurting people, from earlier topic on your program, Chuck, owning the American dream, your house. And this bubble to me is different. You have the tech bubble. You remember as a layperson, I kept saying, Chuck, what's going on here? There's nothing. It's air. There's nothing here. At some point, this come on. This bubble has to burst, and it did. But that's a different kind of bubble. If this bubble bursts, then you're talking about the taxpayers of America. The federal government will be on the hook for $1 trillion.
Yeah, I think, Harry, the fact of the matter, putting all that aside, and you're absolutely correct.
Hillary Clinton, if she had become president, I don't know if she would have done it, and I think she would not have done it, because I think she was running one way to get enough votes to become president. She actually said she was going to forgive all the college debt. She said that.
I remember.
Now, I remember saying, I remember saying, "Hey, okay, that's beautiful. Thank you. 3 children that Margie and I are responsible for. Wonderful, wonderful news." But how is that going to happen, Chuck? You just hocus pocus say it's gone? You write it off?
You can't just
you
say
write $1 trillion off?
You can't just say hocus pocus.
Fiscal
it's all
year
gone.
2018?
I think what really is the most bothersome with all this, Harry, is the fact that all these institutions, whether it's a state school, a local college, a community college, an Ivy League school, a well-known private institution, they always operate under the same philosophy. We are going to increase your tuition rates by 3.5% to 6% per year.
Right.
Okay, it doesn't really much matter what's going on
in the economy,
in the real world.
Exactly.
And I can remember,
because they have their salary increases, they have everything that they're doing. They have to feed the beast.
And I think what's
so
really
this is the new baseline.
What's really troublesome, and I think we all see it with our children as they go through school, how many tenured professors actually teach classes. How many tenured professors actually review tests and score tests and communicate with their students? I mean, there's that whole there's that Chinese wall that's up between like in our world between retail and investment banking. Okay, you can't talk to the banker.
The firewall.
Okay, to the analyst.
Yeah.
You can't talk to the professor. And maybe I'm just. Harry, this is one of those things that if you haven't figured out, it bothers me a lot.
I know. Bothers me a lot.
And the fact that you can just...
I actually know somebody that's trying to reach one. It's funny you would bring this up. Not my children, but somebody that... Because mine are done. But somebody is trying to reach someone, and the individual simply will not get back to them.
It's very frustrating, for the student.
Plan.
The student wants to get certain things accomplished, and they need to talk to the professor, and the professor just ignores you.
And the big deal now is email. So we're building that impersonal thing even in school. They don't even get back on email.
It's just...
And by the way, I hold harmless because there are some terrific ones that are responsible and responsive and get back to everybody. But I'm telling you, I hear from a lot of people, they have plans they're trying to do, all kinds of things, and these folks don't even get back.
Look, so most industries, like your industry, my industry, as an example, you have 99% of the people working are really good, hardworking, with well intentions, good intentions to do certain things in their line of work. Now, you're going to always see, the rogue. The ones that, are in my world, for instance, they're more interested in themselves than they are in the client.
Right.
But they get caught.
Problem.
Now,
final minute.
I think what happens in the world of colleges, it's a little bit different. I don't think 99% are good, hardworking professors.
I don't either.
I think a lot of them put their time in and now just kick back and say, something, I don't need to do this anymore.
And even make it hard on the students.
I have a teaching assistant or teaching assistants, that are like juniors and seniors or grad students, and I'll let them do the work. So, apologize if I went off on the soapbox here a little bit, but I mean, obviously, I think it bothers both of us.
It does.
And I'm sure it bothers a lot of your listeners as well.
I know it does. I hear from people all the time, and I know so do you, and we're both parents, and we had to operate through the labyrinth and deal with all the things. And,
I like that labyrinth. Absolutely correct.
And with some smart children that didn't get it done in 4 years.
So I'll leave it with this. So the market,
I know somebody at 3.98.
So we'll leave it. We'll leave it at the markets. We still think you need to be invested, and we think there's more upside than potential downside here.
Chuck Malamut, 609-383-2010. Tour de force, my friend.
Thanks, Harry. See you next week.
You got it. Richie Helfand coming up. We're going to be talking about could there be a boardwalk back in Margate? Chuck loves Margate. I don't think he would mind a boardwalk in Margate.
Boardwalk in Margate would be fantastic.
How about that?
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by Atlanticare, a member of Geisinger.
I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update. From how to be safe and prepared in an emergency to how to take care of your pet, the American Red Cross has a suite of apps for your mobile device that include a wide range of helpful information. One of my favorites is the First Aid app. It is a free and simple way to get life-saving first aid instruction anytime, anywhere. Features include step-by-step instructions, videos and animations for first aid scenarios, a 911 call button and hospital locator, as well as safety and preparedness tips for a range of conditions, including severe weather and disasters. Be prepared and download the free Red Cross First Aid app today. It could save a life. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by Atlanticare, a member of Geisinger. Call 1-888-569-1000 or visit atlanticare.org.
Paul D'Amato.
Harry Hurley.
Paul, I know our listeners want to know what's new with the D'Amato Law Firm.
Things are great, Harry. We are so privileged to represent our clients whose lives have been turned upside down because they were involved in a serious accident. We meet on a regular basis. We copy our clients on all our correspondence so they always know what's going on with their case. We try to treat them like family. We have Alexa here, my daughter. I'm so happy that she's here. We have Steve Van Natten and Casey Gifford. We're a great legal team.
They're the D'Amato Law Firm for all of your personal injury legal needs. Turn to the official lead counsel to the Hurley in the Morning program for more than a quarter of a century. The D'Amato Law Firm in Egg Harbor Township, 609-926-3300. That's 609-926-3300. Tell Paul, Alexa, Sandy, the entire team that Hurley in the Morning sent you.
There are some things that are 100% unique to your business. Whether you brew the craftiest beer, offer the sharpest haircuts, or dole out the soundest financial advice in town. Well, at Vistaprint, no matter what you do, we've got the business cards to promote what makes your business great. That's why we're offering 500 custom cards starting at just $9.99. That's 500 business cards made just for you for only $9.99 with promo code 6000 at Vistaprint.com. You can choose everything about your card, the shape, the finish, and even the paper. Whether you pick our high-quality standard option or select a luxurious thicker stock. And you choose whether to design it yourself or ask for a little help from our support team via chat, email, or phone. We even have professional designers on call. So create a card that shows off what makes your business great and get the most bang for your... Just head to Vistaprint.com to get your 500 business cards starting at $9.99. Use promo code 6000 at checkout. That's Vistaprint.com. Promo code 6000.
Hi, it's Brian Kilmeade. Join me next at 10, then Sean Hannity at 3. Now back to Harry Hurley on WPG Talk Radio, 104.1, South Jersey's talk station.
Hey, Chuck, in our final minute, because Chuck stayed during the break, we were conducting the affairs of the nation during the break. Music's playing us out, Chuck, but what a informative, wonderful program I thought you had.
Harry, thanks. It's every week we try to bring it.
I think you're 27. You're hitting your groove thing. I'm just kidding. For all of your financial planning needs, turn to Chuck Malamut, the official, the exclusive financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program, 609-383-2010. Quick comment, 30 seconds on summer 2018, because you get around. You're in Atlantic City.
Yeah, I mean, summer 2018, I think, Harry, was obviously spectacular for Atlantic City. I mean, some of the shore resorts, I think Ocean City has had a pretty good summer.
With bad weather, too.
Awful weather.
Yeah.
I mean,
including this weekend, it looks like.
Well, hopefully it will not rain. I mean, I think there's, a 50% chance?
50, 60, yeah.
So I mean, look, you've seen weather change. I mean, it's...
we have. The forecasts have been more damaging than the actual weather.
Yeah, I mean, there were like a number of days where it was going to rain every day, 100% chance, and never rained.
Time.
WENJ 97.3 HD3 Millville. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
We're taking a stroll on the Margate Boardwalk next.
Just now, starting to vote in Arizona. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. It's primary day. Fox's Jessica Rosenthal's live in Phoenix.
Yeah, Dave, Democrats think they have some big opportunities here in Arizona with Republican Senator Jeff Flake retiring. Congresswoman Kristen Sinema is leaving her district, her House seat, to run for the Senate seat. And she polls well against the Republicans running for this slot, Kelly Ward, Martha McSally, and Joe Arpaio. President Trump has not endorsed either